What's going on, everybody? Fedor here from 3D Print SOS. Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, we are going to be checking out the FlyingBear Ghost 6. This thing really caught my eye because it is an all-metal construction. It is a fully enclosed machine. It's a CoreXY machine, and it has a lot of parts on it that you can buy over the counter or on Amazon in a lot of places. So it should be easy to upgrade, repair, things of that nature, and I'm definitely a big fan of that. It seems like at the price point of $300 to $305 right now, according to their official website, this could be a perfect machine to get to be able to print hotter temperatures, or to get into the hobby and still have room to grow with the machine, learn how it works, and then upgrade it or fix it as you need. So that is really compelling to me, especially because at $300, this is right around the price of a whole lot of open machines, kind of like Creality style clones, or even Creality machines, like the Ender 3, for example. But this is a whole different style, a whole different animal, and has a ton of features like Wi-Fi printing, touchscreen, direct drive extruder. I know those aren't necessarily exotic things, but this isn't necessarily boasting about speeds or anything of that nature. So I think this thing is flying under the radar, at least at the moment, and I think it's worth checking out if this thing is worth your time and money, because I just think it has a lot of potential. So what I like to do on this channel usually is unbox these things, show you everything that these things come with so you have a similar experience, and then we are going to assemble anything that needs to be assembled, although this one is 99% assembled. I am going to go ahead and throw in this all-metal heat break so that we can print things like ASA and ABS. We're going to do some test prints, then print some filaments, and hopefully after about a week's worth of putting this thing through the gauntlet, we'll figure out if this thing is worth your time and your money. Alright, so let's get this thing out of the box and let's see what the Ghost 6 is all about. Let's go. By the way, as a disclaimer, this machine was sent to me by FlyingBear. No money was exchanged whatsoever. I'm not obligated to say anything, and they're going to see this video at the same time as you are. So I'm going to try to give my almost unbiased, honest review of this machine as I can. Alright, back to the video. Let's go. Alright, so here we are. This thing is huge, so I'm very likely going to have to put this thing down and get the printer out, but I have my blade. Let's go ahead and see what we have to undo here, because it does look like it's, well, taped and packaged really, really well. The box has these corners on pretty much every single corner here. Also, they did send me a specific fuse with instructions for the fuse. I got to make sure that I don't forget to install that. Alright, let me take the time to undo all this tape. Aha! Alright, so we got foam, and here we have our top hat, kind of like a giant beanie. Got ourselves a packing list with a signature. Alright, and the rest is the machine, so let me go ahead and set this down and get the machine out onto the table. Alright, we also have a door. I just wanted to point out how thick the packaging is to have that machine in there. Nice. They are definitely not playing around with shipping. Alright, let's just keep taking out the foam. There's a ton of it on this machine. Alright, we got a little drawer of goodies. Wow, this is a lot of foam. They essentially filled the entire cavity of the machine with foam. Alright, let's see what's in the goodie box. We have ourselves a little sample of filament. Looks like it's just a little bit. The spool's much larger than the actual sample. We have our tools. Let's see what's in there. We have a very heavy-duty scraper with a wooden handle. Look at this. I might need some spackling done at the house. Wow. We have some side cutters. Always a welcome sight. Okay, I like the grips actually. Some zip ties. We have some needles just in case you have a clog. We have a stylus for the screen. Can't say I've seen that one before. We have a USB drive, very similar to a lot of other machines. Does it say how big the card is? Just a 4 gigabyte card. Should be plenty for STLs, especially because this has Wi-Fi connectivity. And a pair of tweezers. This is a very welcome sight. I use tweezers all the time just to get filament off the hot end, pick things up from the bed, things of that nature, and I've always had to buy my own. Very nice that they include a set. Wow, there's quite a lot of bags actually. This looks like it's hardware for the door. I see a little door handle, and I felt a magnet in here. Yep, there's a magnet and some hardware. We'll go ahead and put that back in there for when we assemble this. Here we have a filament runout sensor and the higher quality couplers that actually have a mechanism in it to retain the PTFE tube. A couple clips, looks like, for wire management. Once again, we'll get there when we assemble things. Alright, this is another welcome sight. A full-on second hot end, spare hot end with sock. Okay, with thermistor, everything you need. The connectors aren't crimped, but that's not a big deal. We can go ahead and do that. It has PTFE tube. So that's the thing that I would like to replace. Is it looks like the actual shape of the block is different than the one I have, but all I want from here is just this all-metal heat break that we'll go ahead and toss on this machine to get the PTFE liner out of there so we can print hotter temperature filaments. We're going to go ahead and do that during the installation as well. We have a printer cable in case you want to hook it up to your computer. We have a PTFE tube. This is either for the reverse Bowden on the machine. Where would that be? Is that on the side here? Yes, that's actually on the side. Most enclosed machines are starting to put their filament and sensors on the back. This is actually a very welcome sight. They have it on the side here, which I appreciate. Power cable? Well, we'll need that for powering the machine, won't we? We have a very full and heavy user's manual. Look at that. Okay, let's take a peek. Let's take a peek. It does have manual bed leveling, but it looks like it is fully assisted, so you can just use a piece of paper to level it. Here is the dual gear extruder, and I gotta say, this is a really nice feeling and looking unit. I love the fact that you can see through to the gears. Let's see how it operates. Nice and smooth. Yep. Okay, very nice. Big lever. It's for you to get leverage to open and close this thing, tighten it up. Has a little pancake stepper motor on the back here. Not very heavy at all. Overall, very good looking construction on here. Nice injected molded piece. They give you all the little basic Allen keys, a little screwdriver, and a wrench with different sizes on it. And then some more hardware that we will likely need, or spares. I don't know yet. We'll find out in a few minutes when I have this thing assembled. And the last thing we have on here is the filament spool holder. And I think that is it for all of our hardware. So I'm going to go ahead and put the door on. I'm going to figure out where the fuse needs to go that they sent me, because apparently that needs to happen. Oh look, this paper can be used for bed leveling. That's nice. So we're going to go ahead and use that for bed leveling. Let's do the peel of the screen, right? Ah, very nice. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and follow the instructions, get this thing all hooked up, and then I will see you guys in a second. Alright, so there it is. That took about 30 minutes, and I gotta say most of that was either showing you something or trying to take the extra step in installing this heat break. One thing I realized, and I put the hot end away already, but this heat break that I purchased is a little bit too long, so I have to find a different all-metal heat break that'll fit this machine. Most of that assembly process, that's what I was doing. I was taking the hot end apart, but I just put it back to how it was, and I'll have to find, like I said, a smaller one. But here is the machine. It is much more compact and smaller than I thought. Even with this silly hat, it's really not that big. And I say silly, but technically it's really effective. It just pops in here, kind of slides in, and it has this little kind of like umbrella mechanism, so you can just fold it up and stow it away somewhere. Obviously, if you're going to be using PLA, PETG, you don't really want that. You can even keep this door all the way off, or just keep it open. I do like that not only does it not swing, you can also just keep it open in the direction, and it's completely out of your way if you wanted to, like if you're printing PLA. I did also notice that it has an exhaust fan inside of the chamber, which is also very nice. If you technically wanted to print ABS, ASA, and you wanted to add some filtration back here, you could technically make something with magnets that just clips onto the back, and then you have an actual filtration system. So it's definitely great. I put in the SD card here, and you know, I plugged in the power cable. I think everything else is hooked up, so let's go ahead and do the first boot. There's the beep, that means we're live. Also, as you saw, I installed the fuse that they sent me to put in. Alright, and the screen is on. Oh, we have LEDs, nice white LED. Very, very good looking machine, I must say. I definitely like the injection molded plastic here. There's no 3D printed parts on this whatsoever. Everything is nice and sturdy. You know, it's, so far I haven't used it, but everything looks really nice. Let me get you a closer look on the screen so we can take a look at what we got going on over here together. Alright, so let's see what we got. First of all, I actually really like this colorful menu. It looks really nice. It makes it look complete, like a nice unique package. Let's go ahead and preheat. Let's see what we can do here. Is it separate? Yep, okay, we have some preheating settings, PLA, ABS, and cool everything down. While we're doing this, I want to kick the bed up to 60. By the way, I just noticed the machine is completely silent. Not a single fan was running at all, and I just hear a very quiet fan running somewhere now that the hotbed is working. I'm guessing that's the fan for the motherboard that's running now, or the power supply. Very quiet. Nothing, no sound is happening. Just that tiny little bit of fan. Alright, so let's see, is the bed working? Yep, the bed's going up. Okay, let's go back. Move. Let's go ahead and just move something here and there. Let's see, X. Okay. Yep, Z. Alright, the bed moves on this machine, because it's a CoreXY machine. Y, sorry. Okay, homing, and this is motors off. That's fine. We'll home a little later. Alright, obviously for print it's going to pull up the SD card, and there's just a file called Ghost 6. I did see in the menu that it's kind of like a bolt and nut, so maybe that's just the same thing, just not labeled, but I have a feeling that's the only thing that's on the SD card. It is. Alright, let's go back. Filament, what's going on here? Okay, so this is heating the nozzle and then either extruding or retracting filament and then stopping. Nice, you can tell how many times. Cool, this is nice, makes it easy. Go back. Tool. Alright, we have leveling, end stop. What's an end stop? Oh, okay, so this just, it tells you which ones are being triggered at the moment. There's a flame sensor. That's kind of awesome. It's in the front here on the bottom. Material detection. That's the filament runout sensor. Cool. Yeah, that's nice to see that it's in there. Alright, let's see. Temperature settings. I'm guessing this is where you can customize your PLA. Yep, let's make this 200 while we're in here. Yep, 60. Yep, 260. That's fine. ABS 240 and 110. I see why it says 240. I'm not going to be printing ABS, but when I do print ABS, I'm going to print it at 260. They did that because they don't have the all-metal hot heat break on their stock. Voice. Okay, there's button sounds. That's going to get frustrating, so I'll turn it off. End sound, end stop sound. You know what? I'm going to turn this on. Just because I think it would be nice to hear it actually doing it. Print complete, yeah, sure. No filament, yep. Okay, hopefully that's not continuous. Okay, it is continuous, no thanks. Alright, let's see, language, English, Russian, and Chinese. I do notice there's a lot of Russian in here. I wonder if one of their big markets is Russia. Let's go to advanced real quick. Floodlight, yep, 510 fan. Is that the back? Nope. Well, it looks like I can't really turn it on at the moment. That's okay. And about, FlyingBear Ghost 6, 255 by 210 by 210. Filament, here's the version that we're currently running. I wonder if there's an update. I'll have to check a little later. And then the only other thing here is Wi-Fi. Definitely very, very nice feature to have, for sure. Alright, so that looks pretty simple. Let's see where our bed is at on preheat. Okay, so we're at 60 degrees, so let me see. Oh yeah. Actually, before I go ahead and do anything else, let me go ahead and grab some isopropyl alcohol. And now, let's go ahead, go to Tool, Leveling, Home Z. Let's get our paper ready. I gotta say, this is a very quiet machine. I'm literally hearing noises in my house over this machine. Alright, and there we go. We hit the end stop. Alright, so let's adjust our Z offset first. We need larger movements first. Let's just get that dialed in. Let's go ahead and get it to 1. Machine's homing now. Definitely very quiet leveling. Alright, and now the bed is somewhat leveled, and I just realized a funny thing that I forgot. I forgot to heat up the hot end before leveling. So I'm going to go ahead and do that once again with the hot end up to temperature for PLA. I'm going to load in some PLA, and let's do our first print. You know, I was just filming this thing starting printing, and I realized just how quiet this machine is. I mean, I have been using some faster, more recent machines that are meant to go fast, and they are just so loud in comparison. This thing is near silent. You could have this sitting next to you in an office environment, kind of like this. I'm at my desk right now, and you can't hear it at all. It's almost inaudible. I mean, I hear that there is a fan somewhere in the distance, but this has to be one of the quietest machines that I have for sure. All right, back to printing. Alright, now that we know that this machine is capable of printing PLA, I know that's not very impressive. Every 3D printer should print PLA, right? It did it really well. This piece, although I don't know what this is exactly, it looks like some kind of extraction system, maybe for the back fan, I'm not sure. But this print came out really, really nice, and it's really impressive that it printed all of this without any kind of supports. It looks like the cooling worked really well. Obviously, this is only one print, but like I said, I think everything can print PLA. The things that I want to know is, can this machine print hot, considering it has this chamber, has a door, it's fully enclosed, has a lid, so on and so forth. So here's kind of what I was trying to do. I ended up buying a few heat breaks so that you don't have to find the right one. And let me kind of go over it. This one right here in the middle, this is for a BQ machine, and this one did not work lengthwise. It was fine, but this one is 6 millimeters thick. That was too narrow, so that didn't work. Then I went ahead and bought one of these, which you saw in the intro. This is from a standard Ender style hot end, and this one didn't work because it is too long. So it is 7 millimeters wide, which is what you want, but it is too long. You need something around 19 or 20. Then I found this for a Sprite extruder, which I thought was correct. But this ended up being 8 millimeters and not and a bit too thick. So I believe that the Sprite Pro extruder is the right one that does have a 7 millimeter break like this, but there was mixed results on Amazon, and this one I found, I will link down in the description. This one's 19 millimeters tall and 7 millimeters around. As you can see, it doesn't have the recess there, so your PTFE is just going to be pressed down by the mount of the extruder, and it's going to be in the cooling chamber of your hot end. Not a big deal. And if you look at it with the stock setup, it is exactly the same height. And here I have a hardened steel nozzle and just a Creality style little sock here. So there we go. This is going to be our hot setup. So I'm going to throw it into the heatsink, and let's start printing with the fun stuff, right? All right, see you in a second. Alright, so that has been the Ghost 6 by FlyingBear, and if you guys want the TLDR for this machine, it's really good. It's really good. I think this is going to be an easy recommendation for me for a first time or maybe a second, third type of machine, because I think it just has a lot going for it. I think Nathan Builds Robots said it best. He called this the Ender 3 of CoreXY, and I couldn't agree with him more. There's a very clear upgrade path, very easy to mods. For example, if you're that type of person that wants to modify things, it's pretty good out of the box, and with some very cheap and easy modifications like I showed in this video, you could have it printing quite literally everything. And that's kind of what I tried to do. The only thing I didn't really get to was TPU, but it has a direct drive extruder. I'm pretty sure it'll do okay, just won't be able to print with it too fast. But because it's an enclosed machine, I just really wanted to see how it can print engineering grade materials, and for this particular short test I just checked out ABS and ASA. So let's just jump into the current prints that I did on the machine in the time that I had it, and we'll go from there. We'll go into the cons and pros from there. Alright, so first up is these two prints in IIIDMAX ASA. We got red on the bottom and gray on the top. As you can see, this is an adapter for the CoreXY K1 by Nathan Builds Robots, as well as a Sherpa Mini. It's fully functional. It worked great. It printed out very solid. Absolutely no issues, no cracking, no nothing. It just printed out great. The fact that this thing is completely sealed, and with the all-metal Hotend, you can print these type of materials at 260 with no fans on. It's just fantastic. I also tested a quite challenging long print for this particular machine. This is IIIDMAX ABS in black, and as you know, black shows every imperfection, and you would be hard pressed to find any here except for just the glue that's on the bottom that needs to be washed off. And these fit on the CoreXY K1 really easily. This is once again Nathan Builds Robots. I'm pretty much a Nathan Builds Robot shill at this point, like he said. This is a top hat extension. All the parts fit great. They pop right in, and it's IIIDMAX ABS, so it's going to be good. There's another little adapter to move the cable chain over. So I know it can print hot. These were printed at pretty similar settings. Now, I didn't really push the speed on this thing too much. I don't think that's necessarily important, especially for this machine, although I think it can get up pretty quick, especially if you go ahead and upgrade to Clipper, which I'll cover a little bit later on. But as far as I understand, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be printing stuff like this on their first or second machine. This is a PLA print. This is IIIDMAX new silk filament, which I highly suggest you guys check out. Specifically this white, I really enjoy. It has this pearl essence effect, and the print came out great. I know a lot of things can print PLA well, so that's not really impressive, but the fact that it can just do all of this stuff together like this with very simple modification, like I said, is really cool. And just the fact that you can expand into this is just nice. So let's go over the cons, because it's not all absolutely great. There's some cons about the machine, but spoiler alert, the cons section is actually much smaller than the pros. So let's just get right into it. So as far as the cons go, it has an irregular bed size. I believe it says 255 by 210. I think other places say 250 by 210. So it's just not a standard size, which is a downside because it's glass. And for example, I would love PEI or something really similar, and you have to get it from them. Now, it's available from FlyingBear themselves, but that's pretty much the only place you're going to get it. You can't just go on Amazon, for example, or wherever you buy 3D printer parts and grab yourself whichever, because it's not going to fit. It's an irregular size. It has manual bed leveling. You kind of have to get over that. Initially, it's not going to have manual bed leveling. You can add it later. There's various modifications you could do. For me, that's not necessarily that important. I haven't touched it ever since I set it one time on this machine, and I don't think you'll have to do that if you do it correctly, and you just watch it on the first layer, make sure that it's still good from your previous attempt. And it kind of goes back to the glass thing. The only reason why this would get out of level is because the glass is somewhat sticky. It's kind of similar to the Mingda machines, if you guys remember them from my other reviews, and I actually have another Mingda machine I got to check out. But the you know, the bed can be so sticky that when getting off print, some prints can be stubborn, and you're prying so much you could push the bed out of level. So there's that. It's manual, but it's not that big. So in my personal opinion, that's not necessarily critical, especially with glass. And like I said, you could always add it. There's no all metal heat break. Honestly, this was kind of astonishing to me, to be honest with you. Why wouldn't an all metal all enclosed machine that looks and talks and walks like it's meant to print hot come with an all metal hot end? I don't know, but that was something that I wanted to do right out of the box, and that's something that I would highly suggest you do if you're in the market for this. Although, like I said, just straight how it is, it's pretty cool, and it has this upgrade path. You can take it in whichever way that you need the machine to go, which is really cool. But stock, no all metal heat break, which, Flying Bear, why you do this, right? No PI sheet and super sticky glass. I think I kind of covered it previously, but yeah, it doesn't come with PI. I think at $300, most machines come with PI. Machines much cheaper than $300 come with PI, and I would love to see that here. Maybe there's some upgraded model that can replace this one with some of those things like all metal hot end and or heat break at least, and PI. I think that would be really nice, especially if there's like an upgrade for the top here to have acrylic on top instead of that hat, although the hat was pretty functional. All right, that's neither here or there. No PI as it comes. Flexible bed carriage. So this is actually something I noticed while leveling the bed and checking the machine out, is the actual carriage that has the print bed on it is somewhat flexible. I mean, you can move it if you push down on it. Obviously, when printing, you know, perfectly functional prints like this, it didn't play a role whatsoever. I didn't print anything too tall, but there's no Z related issues at all. Maybe if you're pushing speed, maybe if you're pushing the 210 size limit, you might run into something, but I didn't encounter it while printing. But it is noting that because it is kind of like a cantilever design, kind of like the Ender 5s are, and not, you know, it doesn't have multiple points, it is somewhat flexible. And as I mentioned before, with all metal hot end and all the other stuff that you can upgrade, I did actually see somebody that added some rods on both sides in the front and made an entire mechanism on the bottom with a belt tensioner, similar to how the X Plus is by Cheetah Tech, or even the Creality K1 is. You can essentially make a belted 3-point Z system if you really wanted to. If you wanted to take the machine, you know, from where it is now to the next level, it's available for you. There's an upgrade path. There's a PTFE fitting that's after the filament sensor that digs into filament. It's actually right here on this side, this one. On mine, the bottom of it was kind of sharp, and after printing for a little while, a lot of filament would collect right here from just grinding. So what I did was I took a larger drill bit and just went by hand and kind of cleaned up that hole, and that completely solved the problem. Obviously, these PTFE fittings are so inexpensive. Technically, you could eliminate it altogether and not have it there at all, but it is kind of neat and tidy with it there, so that little fix was quick, but something worth noting. It just makes it feel cheap when things like that happen out of the box, you know? And the last thing I have on here is the door isn't insulated around the edges. So this door, as you can see, maybe you can't see, you know, it is just a plexiglass sheet, and what they did was they put a magnet in the center instead of on the top and bottom. You can easily just add more magnets to have it more uniform, but I think the best case scenario here would be to add some insulation right on the inside right here. There's like a kind of a spot for it perfectly, and that would eliminate any kind of drafts that you would get pulled in from the doors. Not that that was really an issue, but just something worth noting, because you do want to keep as much heat in here as possible if you want to print hot. And that's all I have for cons. They're honestly not that serious for a budget machine. I typically, on a budget machine, have way more critical things to say. So that's something to think about. Let's jump into the pros. All right, so first of all, we have all metal construction. There's very little to no plastic, at least for the chassis or the body of it. There's newer machines that print significantly faster and are far more serious than this that don't have nearly the same amount of metal, which means this has a pretty robust chassis, which you could take it far if you wanted to, and I think that's really nice. It makes it feel nice, it makes it look nice, and I really like just the general shape and how small and compact it is. I know my lens is really wide, but this technically is a very small machine. I think this actually would take up less space than an Ender because the bed moves and this doesn't have to do that. There's no screens coming off the side. I just think this is a better machine to begin with than something like a bed slinger, at least right now, at this point in time in 2023. It is super quiet. As you can see, there's no fans on right now at all. There's nothing. Nothing is on when you don't need it, which is amazing. The only thing that I wish it did was put the screen all the way to sleep. I think that would be nice, and then it would just be completely dim. I do think you can turn it off, but I'm not sure on that. The one thing I do want to note about the screen is if you do run Clipper, for example, or you put a Pi in the machine, you can rewire the screen to run Clipper screen, which I thought was really cool. But that's beside the point. The point is it's extremely quiet. The fans are quiet. The machine itself, the movement is quiet. You can have this on your desk next to you and it's not going to bother you nearly as much as some other machines that I have. For example, even machines like the VoxLab Aquila or the Ender 3, this is far more quiet. The bprint Wi-Fi interface is awesome. Basically built in Octoprint without Raspberry Pi, and you can get bprint on mischianti.org. And I'll put a link down in the description for that. bprint is a little app that you kind of install through the interface, through the online interface of the MKS of Robin Nano boards, and it's really cool. I don't remember the guy's name, but I'll have the link to the description. So please check out the website. It has instructions on how to install it. You essentially install a file for the UI first, and then you install a file for the Wi-Fi dongle itself that's on this board in that order, and then you can put in the IP address of this machine into your browser, and you get this really great interface where you can send G-code to the machine, you can see all your files on the SD card, you can start prints, you can monitor, you can add cameras, even an IP camera, for example, not something that plugs in. There's so much you can do through that interface. It's almost like having a low-level Octoprint setup right from the start. It's something free that you can just install to use the Wi-Fi for. The other thing that's cool about the Wi-Fi is that right out of the box you can use it with a Cura plugin for MKS, so you can just download that plugin, put in this IP address, and you can monitor your machine right through Cura, or send prints, so on and so forth. So that you get that kind of functionality to get right out of the box, and I think that's really, really cool. The ability to upgrade and modify, there's no proprietary parts. I don't want to say no proprietary parts, even though I wrote that. There's some proprietary parts, like the extruder, for example. Obviously, you could modify that. There's a very quick and easy way you could put on any extruder that you would like on there, including different print heads. There's just a big aftermarket for this thing, even though I don't hear much about it, because it uses generic parts. All the fans are generic, the belts are generic, the motors, the plugs, the board, the screen, everything is generic except for its outer shell here, and the only really thing that makes it FlyingBear is this assembly right over here. But even the parts in that assembly, as you saw me modifying it, aren't proprietary. So that is really cool. That means you can fix it yourself. You don't have to rely on anybody, and if you're the type of person, to modify it. The chamber fan, there's a chamber fan for exhaust or filtration, or you can reverse the fan for cooling, depending on what you're doing. If you're going to print a bunch of PLA, or you want to try to make this thing print faster, which it's very capable of, even though they don't say that it is fast, you can flip that little auxiliary fan so that it blows inward and have that as an auxiliary fan just for more cooling. It definitely won't hurt. Or as is, because the outside is all metal, it's steel, you could just make a magnet filter to put right on the back, and you can have a filtration system for when you're printing ABS and ASA if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff. And it's just right there. I think having an extra fan like that for the case itself is definitely a huge pro. It has an easy cure profile right in the manual, which is also true. But speaking of that, I also used Orca Slicer for most of these prints actually, and I just used the starting. I just used the Ender 5 as the starting profile. I also tried the Ender 5 S1, which had very little difference between the Ender 5, but it gives you some stock profiles to try out, which is what I used here with some just minor modifications to some of the profiles. I think, for example, their PLA profile needed a bit more retraction, just little things here and there. But Orca Slicer works for this machine. So if you want to use something like Prusa Slicer or whatever, you're not locked into a slicer with this machine whatsoever. It has dual cooling fans on the head, so it has 40 by 10 really common fans. Most machines have a single 4010, but this has two of them on both sides, and I have not seen a single issue with cooling. In fact, this test print is extremely difficult to print that circle right there, and it did a great job of it, and that's a great example of cooling. Right there, obviously, a print and place thing like this requires a lot of cooling, and there was zero issues there, especially when you open the door, you take the top off, you have that fan in the back running. It's pretty solid, has plenty of cooling. These spool holders on the side, I know this is a funny thing to say, but a lot of enclosed machines tend to run this on the back, but the fact that it's on the side means you don't have to rotate this thing, you don't have to put it on a lazy Susan or something crazy. You can just reach right there, everything is right next to the machine, you can feed it very easily. This PTFE, the reverse Bowden, is very short. It's just a good design idea to have it on the side. I did see some posts that said that the spool rubs, but maybe I have a more modern version or something, but my spool has a little lip so that this spool does not touch the actual side of the machine at all. And you can run a filament dryer right on the side with zero issues on this thing. So I like that that's on the side. The front door swings open right away. I have a few machines where the door doesn't swing open all the way. It goes about here and you end up bumping it. No, this one goes all the way, even further than all the way. So that's nice. You can get in, get out. You can even take this thing off really easily if you wanted to. It is not in the way whatsoever, and I think that's fantastic. All right, and then I think I have one more back here. It runs a very common MKS Robin Nano V3.1 board. You can not only get replacements of those, but you can modify it, you can add things, you can remove stuff, you can add Clipper very easily. There's already configuration files for this machine for Clipper, so you don't have to do any of that heavy lifting. If you type in Ghost 6 Clipper, you'll find the configuration files. So if you already have a Sonic pad or any of the pads that are out, or if you just spend $35, $36 on a BQ CB1, you can throw it in here, and this thing would do really, really well on Clipper because it is CoreXY. Because it is all metal, you can push this thing. It's just begging for you to enjoy and love and have. So I mean, I guess I'm giving it a lot of credit, and it's because, well, I really enjoyed this machine in the time that I had it. Alright, well, based on all that, I think it's pretty clear that this thing has earned my recommendation. In the time that I had it, I had an absolute blast. It has instilled confidence in me that this thing can print all kinds of different materials with these really simple modifications. I'm totally bummed that it doesn't have, the little things that are, well, they're very common now. ABL, all metal hot end, PI sheet. I think those should be on a machine of this price, honestly. But like I mentioned, just using it and printing the way that it does and the things that it can do, if I had only one or two machines and this was one of them, I would go wild with this thing, for sure. I would just do whatever with it. It's great. There's a very clear path to upgrades, and just using it as is, it's just a good machine. Like I said before, I'm really surprised this thing isn't everywhere. So please let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. If you guys have researched and maybe thought about buying this, or maybe why you didn't buy it, or maybe you have one and there's something that you really like about it, let us know, or something maybe that you don't like about it. I personally would really love to hear your thoughts, and this is going to go on my shelf. I'm going to hold on to it for a little while and see what else it can do, just because I think it's a really cool and interesting machine. Alright guys, please check out the links down in the description. I prepped everything there for you. you, from buying all the parts for the modifications that I did, to some of the files that I printed, as well as our Patreon, YouTube membership. Thank you to everyone there. You guys literally fund this channel, as well as our free Discord where you can get discounts for parts. I have all my discounts listed in one place, all the profiles for the machines that I have publicly. You can also just chat with like-minded people, share your prints, share your thoughts about things, ask questions, troubleshoot your machines. It's just really fun to be in that Discord channel. I'm literally there all day. You can hop in there and ask me questions and just talk, with the community. So I think that's it for me today. And as always, I'll see you guys down in the comments. Later.